In this video, we're going to look at rearranging formulas and equations. We'll jump to that in a moment, but first let's take a look at some algebra that you've probably seen before. For each of these equations, you're going to want to solve for x. So x needs to be in the numerator and by itself. And so in this question, we have x over 8 equals 2.4. If I multiplied both sides by 8, my 8's would cancel out, and my x would be equal to 8 times 2.4, which would give me my answer. In this next question, I have x in the denominator, which is not great. So I'm going to multiply both sides by x. So I get 5.8x equals 17.4, because my x's cancel out here. Then to solve for x, I need to divide both sides by 5.8. And I'll be left with x equals 17.4 divided by 15 or by 5.8. Here, I want to get rid of the 10, so I divide both sides by 10, and x equals 5 over 10. And down here, I could simplify this, so 15 equals 2 times x times 5, so that's 10x. I'll divide both sides by 10 to get rid of what's next to the x. X equals 15 over 10. So that's kind of how we would generally deal with those sorts of questions. But I want to show you that as long as we've got multiplying and dividing, we can solve for any of the variables. But anytime that we want to get something by itself and it crosses the equals sign, then we're going to have it go from the numerator to the denominator or denominator to the numerator. So let's say that here we wanted to solve for a here. We're going to solve for a, and so a is in the numerator right now. And so I don't need to do anything to it. But if I multiplied by b on both sides, my b's would cancel out, and I'd have a equals c times b over d, which would be the correct answer. But I'd like to be able to do that a little bit more efficiently. And so we're going to take a look at this in slow motion. If I'm taking b to the other side of the equal sign, you'll see that the b, as it crosses the equal sign, goes from the denominator to the numerator, and I'm left with a equals c times b over d. If instead I wanted to solve for d, in this, or let's say c, if I wanted to solve for c, I want to have c by itself. It's already in the numerator, so the d has to go over here, and c equals a times d over b. And so when the d crosses the equals sign, because it's all multiplication and division, all I'm doing is having it cross the equals sign. It goes from denominator to numerator. And so again, if I wanted to solve for that c, what I would have done is multiply both sides by d. My d's would have canceled out, and so they'd have gone away after canceling out, and I'd have been left with a times d, that's this one here, over b. And so again, anytime something's crossing the equals sign, it goes from the numerator to the denominator, as long as it's just multiplying and dividing. Well, if I wanted to solve for b right now is not in the numerator, but I could get it into the numerator if I just took it to the other side, right? So then I would have a equals c times b over d. And if I still wanted to solve for b, now it's by itself, I'll take the c, it'll go across, and the d will go across. So my b equals a times d over c. And it just had I just made sure that I got the b out of the denominator, and then I isolated it. So I'll do that one more time with this kind of an equation. So let's say instead of trying to get rid of or try to isolate for b, let's isolate for d. D isn't in the numerator yet, so I'm going to take it to the other side. then I would have dA over B equals C. But I want to solve for D. Oops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my A to the other side and my B to the other side, and I'm left with D equals CB over A. And so if I can understand that, I can simplify some other sorts of equations. I could simplify this one. If I wanted to solve for G, if I wanted to solve for G is already in the numerator. I'm going to take H to the other side and I to the other side. So my G would be equal to J, K, I, because my I went and crossed the equal sign, divided by L, and then I have my H goes in the denominator because it followed this path, right? And so I can really reorganize my formulas as long as they only had multiplication and division fairly easily. If I wanted to solve for L from this equation, I want to take the L and get it out of the denominator. So I'll have LGH over I equals JK. Now I've got my L out of the denominator. So I want to solve for it. So I'm going to take the GH and they're going to go down and the I is going to go up. So L equals JKI over GH. So my I went up and my GH went down. I could do the same thing here. If I wanted to solve for, this is a U. Let's say we're going to solve for U. U is in the numerator already, so I don't need to try to get it there. Instead, I'm going to, my U is in the numerator. So I just need to take the T to the other side and the V to the other side. So my U will equal QR over S. And then my T went from the numerator to the denominator, and the V went from the denominator to the numerator. If instead I wanted to solve for S, maybe, I need to get the S out of the denominator. That's my first move. So I'm going to take my S out of the denominator, and I'm going to get STU over V equals QR. And then I'm trying to solve for my S. Oh, I keep doing that, sorry. I'm going to solve for my S here. So my T and the U are going to go down to the other side and V goes up. So S equals QR. And my TU go into the denominator and V goes up into the numerator. This is going to allow us to rearrange formulas like this. This is a physics formula. V equals D over T. If I want to solve for D, it's already in the numerator. So if I have V equals D over T, I just need to take my T and cross the equal sign. So D equals V times T, right? Because I took this T here and I crossed the equal sign. And so it went from the denominator into the numerator. So you can see it went from here and crossed the equal sign. If I wanted to solve this formula for T instead, so if I had V equals D over T, if I want to solve for T, I need to first get it in the numerator. So I'm going to take it over here and I'm going to get T, V equals D. And then I'm going to take my, I want to solve for my T. And so then I'm going to take my V and it's going to go over here. So T equals D over V. And every time something crosses the equal sign, it goes from the numerator to the denominator. So in this case, they want me to solve for M. And so what I'm going to do is get M into the numerator. And I can just do that by crossing over the side. MA equals F. Now I want to solve for my M. So my A needs to go to the other side. A equals F over M. And we can solve for all sorts of formulas as long as they only have multiplying and dividing. Now in physics, you'll see some things like this. A equals VF minus VI over delta T. To solve for this becomes much more complicated. It's Science 10. What I will do is have people keep this as delta V. So I'll rearrange A equals delta V over delta T, and then do the delta V calculation afterwards. So delta V equals VF minus VI. And so once I know what the delta V is, if I know the VI, I can find the VF. But I do that as a separate calculation. Hopefully this helps you with rearranging formulas.